G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David, and more trees to look at and keep clean and get into a maintenance routine. This lovely juniper, I think it's a spumata, very close to the spumata foliage. It's been featured on my channel a few times as well in the past. It belongs to someone who I look after his trees quite often, and this tree is in need of some maintenance work. Now, it's had a few tribulations with some branches dying off, which tend to happen. I'll just give you a quick spin if I can fit it in, move across. It's a nice healthy tree, all nice green growth. Now, you can probably see what's happened in summer. Obviously, spring, summer, this has grown quite long and full. A lot of these branches are quite long. The tree's lost its compactness, lost its clean underneath, lost its definition. It's a very bushy, more bushy now, which is good. It's healthy. It means all this foliage has fed the roots. The roots are strong, so the roots are ready to go into winter and then come out of spring and push the tree along. So the foliage has done its work. So now we can actually start to reduce the foliage in autumn. So it's autumn here in Melbourne, and beautiful autumn days as well. Nice coldish nights into a nice mild day. So perfect time to work on these junipers. And I'm pretty much just going to maintain the whole tree, work my way from the bottom branch all the way up, trim back the foliage, clean up underneath, rewire, take wire off, things like that. I'll take you through the process as I do it. Let's go ahead. So the first area I'm going to work on is the lower branch. Now I'm going to assess how the branches look, how long they are, and so on. And I'm going to start to either cut back, remove branches, if they don't need it, cut them back, trim them back, rewire position, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I can see some dead branching and so on. So I'm going to remove some if I need to. If there's any weak ones, we'll remove. So if anything's growing way too long, I start to trim back. So I want to try and get some sort of nice growth. Now you can trim back to, it doesn't really hinder the tree too much, but just trim back to at least an area where there's maybe two branches like that. So trim the middle one out, kind of makes sense. You know, you always want to go at least to that and do that. Anything that's brown, you try and obviously remove. So you just start to clean things up, reposition wire, and so on. So that's the process I'm going to follow. Go through the whole tree, reposition, rewire, and so on. So I work on obviously the lower branch first and work my way up. Some things are growing way too long, so you just start to reduce. And I'm not trimming it like a hedge. I'm being very specific in my trimming of the foliage. Things growing down, of course, I get rid of, or you can pluck them out with your fingers. But anything growing upwards and strong, you want to trim with scissors. Again, maintenance is critical to bonsai. To get this tree, you know, in a really good state again, we need to trim it back, you know, get it really looking nice and healthy and strong, rewire, etc. Remove dead branching, and so on. So the goal for me in bonsai is always to have show trees, get trees into an exhibition. To have exhibition quality trees, you need to make sure, obviously, the tree's healthy, it looks good, it's well maintained, well styled. It looks like a beautiful maturing tree in nature, that kind of stuff. If you've got wire on the tree, make sure it looks tidy, it's not messy, that kind of stuff. So this tree has copper on it, so it's great news. I usually like to make sure my display trees have copper wire rather than aluminium wire, because copper wire is quite smaller, it's less obtrusive to the eye, and so on. So we're getting through this first branch reasonably well. I think I've said what I need to say, and I'm just going to go working through the tree, the entire tree. Now, if I see anything interesting, I'll come back and give you a look. But I'll show you the first branch after I'm done cleaning it up, and then that sets the precedence for everything else, where things have to fit, how long the branches should be, and we start to cut back. So this gives you the symmetry, the key symmetrical definition, I guess, of the rest of the tree. So always the top is very heavy growth, strong. The bottom branches are a bit weaker. So I tend to not to remove so much in the bottom. I tend to remove more at the top. So that's another important point. All right, I'm going to prune this away and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. So hopefully you can see a little bit better when I've cleaned out this, all the lower half, this lower branch, all the way through to this back branch in here. So just, it still looks messy, but it's the best I can do with this type of juniper. Try to clean as much underneath, reduce the length in all areas up until this branch in this area. So it's just slowly reducing the tree, getting it to a much better looking state. Now obviously everything else above it is quite overgrown, so we can now balance the tree out, cutting all the rest, because that's where it's all going to need it now. So you can see now this has kind of set the standard for the rest of the tree needing to be reduced back to be in line with this. So now I'm just going to work my way up the tree and clean all that up. I've had to take some wire off here and there because it's starting to cut in, but that's pretty much it. Haven't had to rewire too much. Most things fit in the same spot and with the same wire that's still on it. So anything that's not cutting in, I'll keep the wire on, but I'll remove everything that's cutting in. So I'm just going to work my way up from either side and get to the top. And really, if I'll show you anything that's more interesting, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty much going to be standard. This branch is okay. I mean, it's because it's a cascade, it kind of is the weakest. So if you don't keep the top under control, this is going to get very weak. So really the next year or two, really got to think about keeping all the top in control and not letting it go too wild, and give this a sufficient sunlight, etc., to try and thicken up and grow as much as, in terms of balancing the growth on the top and the bottom. So very important kind of thing to balance growth. All right, I'm going to keep working away. So you can see quite clearly a lot more definition in the tree, a lot more pad definition. The tree's been thinned out quite heavily, of course. I've tried to remove as much foliage as necessary and trying to keep the tree in a reasonable shape. Pretty much the same shape it was in, just much more reduced. You can actually now see the pad development in the tree. So really was a matter of just going through the tree and redefining all the branches. In the top, there's probably a bit more wire that was cutting in, so I had to remove. So that's an important part of the step. You don't want the wire cutting in too much when you are at this stage of the tree. So that's pretty much it. Any questions? Happy to answer, but I'll give you a little twirl. Ooh, I don't think it's going to go all the way, so I'll go back the other way. So hopefully you can see that quite clearly now. So nice tree. It's much nicer now. In time, I'm not sure if many changes could be done to this tree. Just if you lose one of the lower, if you lose this cascade branch, maybe that's an option. There is a big heavy branch at the back. It could be a nice gin in the future. But the tree is just nicely positioned. It's a nice semi-cascade, good balance throughout the tree. Just needs to be maintained a bit more. Every year I go through that process of cleaning up, as I just did, just to keep the tree nice and healthy and push back the growth closer into the trunk. You don't want the growth to be too far out, otherwise the tree gets very long and leggy and you lose the inner buds, and you want it nice and full and nice canopy. So there you go, guys. Nothing too extravagant, but maintenance is always the important lesson here. As long as you do something to the tree, guys, just do something. Don't let it just do nothing. That's the good old term I've been taught by one of my mentors. Do something, don't do nothing. So very important lesson. If you learn that lesson, your trees will improve dramatically over time. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you around for more.